Radhe Radhe to everybody. Today, Sunday, December 5th, 2021, Mummy and I are here to present our recap video for today's Bhagavad Gita study session.
Radhe Radhe, everybody.
And hopefully everybody can see the standard covered slide we have for chapter 4, Jnana Karma Sannyas Yog. After our regular quiz questions, we covered chapter 4 verses 15, 16, and 17. Of course, one of the highlights today was we also got to do some spotlight videos for participants. Looking forward to that. Mummy will explain briefly at the end of this video. Chapter 4, verse 15, and for the next two verses as well, as we had mentioned, tried to use catchphrases or slogans that use the word or an expansion of the word act. Given that we are now in the section of the Bhagavad Gita that explains the philosophy of action. So following act, as I often say in a drama or a play, here we meant it as what follows in that act or what follows that. The act there is each of us performing actions. So if you go to the book, we see that Sri Krishna tells Arjuna that following the footsteps of great sages, we too should perform our duty. We should perform our actions. And again, all of this is done for the pleasure and enjoyment of God. And we seek to do it in a way that we are detached from the fruits or the results of those actions, so that everything is done from the perspective of a karma yogi. That really was chapter 4, verse 15. There was, of course, an interesting short quote by the Buddha. So in that connection, we talked about a suggestion of Bhagavad Gita book distribution as a very timely way to apply this knowledge and understanding to share the little bit of wisdom that each of us has thus far. Chapter 4, verse 16 then was actually confused. So act, but actually confused. And this is Sri Krishna saying that on the principles of dharma, everybody mostly is also very confused. So not just Arjuna, but even the wise people. We saw in the commentary, Swamiji giving us an explanation of the Srimad Bhagavatam shloka, which is by Yamaraj, the celestial God himself, talking about how the Supreme Lord himself is the one who has created dharma, and he alone, of course, is the true knower. So to help everybody understand that, we talked about the story of Ajamil briefly. And so again, that should help reinforce the knowledge that chanting the names of God is such a wonderful act that we can all involve ourselves in on the aspect of bhakti. There's enough power and so much bliss in chanting the names of the Lord. Mummy, do you want to add anything? Chanting?
Well, chanting is, of course, the most powerful tool we have, as Swamiji has mentioned it many, many times. And at Radha Krishna temple, Swamiji has arranged this 48 hours of chanting recently, chanting of Mahamantra, God's name in any way. If we chant, it takes us very close to God. And God is so compassionate. He is of that forgiving nature. And for those who are chanting God's name, are very soon, they are connected with God.
Yes, very helpful. Thank you, Mummy, for the context from the temple and the Mahamantra itself. Chapter 4, verse 17. So the final one we covered, acting triplets. We'll see the word action at a later stage, but here the triplets we learned about are the three natures of action, the three kinds of action: recommended action, wrong action, and inaction. So in Sanskrit, we have karam, vikaram, and akaram. We talked about karam and akaram, adding that a or a in front usually will help you get an opposite. Inaction, to us, it seemed like this is the very first time in detail that we hear about it from Sri Krishna, but we also took you back to chapter 2, verse 47, where Sri Krishna had mentioned to Arjuna to not be attached to inaction. So way back then in chapter 2, and now here in chapter 4, we see, of course, inaction is related to karma yoga. Again, actions that we perform, but with detachment. So we are not attached to the results or the outcomes. We do them for the pleasure and enjoyment of God. And this helps us, again, break away from the bondage of karmic or fruitive reactions. Our soul doesn't get entangled in all of that. So we get disconnected from there. And the connect that happens, as Mommy mentioned with chanting, is the connect with God. Action, of course, we all know, karma, duties that are prescribed. Primarily, this is from the scriptures, and it's for regulating the senses and purifying the mind. Forbidden action, which is vikarma, things that we should not be doing. As the scriptures say, they don't recommend them, but also because they are detrimental or harmful to us, and they degrade our soul. With all of that, I'll pass it to you, Mummy, to see if there's any additional thoughts or you want to teach us some Sanskrit along the way.
Yeah, today let's learn 2 words. One was mumukshubhi. Mumukshubhi. So that means seekers of liberation. So basically, like we all are trying to be on the spiritual path to get enlightenment about God. So this word, we should keep it in our diary. But the most important word of today is pravakshyami. Pravakshyami means I shall explain. And how it is Krishna is explaining to us all the different terms through Arjun. So pravakshyami is a very important Sanskrit word which we are going to keep in our dictionary all the time while reading Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is explaining to us all the wisdom of how to live this life.
All right, so pravakshami, and as you said, mumukshubhi first, and pravakshami being the more important one. And with that, I'm reminded of a word also that starts with P. Do you want to wrap it up from here,
Yeah,
Mami?
so we'll wrap it up with the word Parayan. As I talked about in the class, we are going to have this Bhagavad Gita summit, whereby first we are going to attend lots of lectures and discourses by luminaries who have imbibed Bhagavad Gita in their lives and how they have inculcated it in their lives. So we are going to learn and listen to them. And on the 5th day, that is 14th of December evening from Dallas, Radha Krishna Temple, we are going to have live broadcast of 700 chanting of 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. And we would want all of you to be part of our chanting, sitting in your own homes, whatever few verses or one chapter or more chapters for your own benefit. So let's all be together in this great yagna on the day of Ekadashi, 14th December, Parayan of 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. That is non-stop chanting of 700 verses.
Certainly looking forward to that and hope to see everybody virtually there or in person at the Radha Krishna Temple in Allen. Thank you so much. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.